Hi, everybody. This is Eugene Papa, your host for this event, for this summit. And I have a great joy to have together with me now Bob Burns, who is well known in the world of hypnosis. And not only for his very buoyant personality, and also for his amazing Swan technique, Swan method. If you ever heard about the Swan, now this is the guy who made that thing happen. And he's been sharing it to the world, with the world. And actually right now the Swan is being used and taught in over 85 countries around the world, which is absolutely fantastic. Bob is a hypnotist who first has done his first hypnosis somewhere in the early 70s, when he was just pretending to be a hypnotist. He was not actually a hypnotist at the time. And since then, he's done a lot of stage hypnosis, treating hypnosis, impromptu, and also he's using hypnosis with magic and mentalism. And he's also working in the corporate sector. He's also a clinical hypnotherapist, and he does mentorship. And he does mentorship in a different way somehow than most people would do, because he actually takes the mentee, the people who want to learn from him, he takes them into the therapy room, and there they can learn and see him at work doing his magic, which is magic not in a magical way, but in a results way. So like I said, he's a mentor, and he's also extremely proficient in creating so much work and so many results with his clients. Now, in this presentation, Bob is going to talk about how to work with groups, how to talk to groups so that you can get results. So for this, you have to have a few skills, and also you have to know how to do it properly so you get the right results. So in this presentation, he will talk about how to introduce yourself, how to grab attention, how to work with people, how to know which one to bring up and start doing your demonstrations with, and a lot more. So let's say a warm welcome to Bob Burns. Hey!
Well, thank you very much. You can put that in. How are you doing, Eugene? Nice to see you.
Yeah, we'll do so. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for being here with us today. So, Bob, what is your secret sauce for working with groups, to talking to groups?
Well, when we kicked off here today, when you contacted me last week and said, "Can I do something?" I thought right away, what do I want to do? And I thought everyone talks about doing the hypnotherapy, the hypnosis itself. So I thought, let's take a different look at it. It's a kind of a dichotomy, this business we're in.
Yeah.
One is doing the work for the client, but the other is trying to stay alive, trying to make an income, trying to build a business. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about what I do there. The next thing I thought about was, well, if I had my best friend or my brother or sister in front of me right now, and they were starting up in hypnotherapy, what would I tell them? If I had something like 45 minutes to tell them what to do, what would it be? So I chose this. I chose talking to groups. It's a part of what I do in every workshop I do. And I've built 5 practices in my time in hypnosis in 3 different countries. And this is what I always do. This is my go-to thing. So if I want to, as William Clement Stone said to me in 1978, to be successful, you have to see the people, see the people, see the people. And he was absolutely right. This is how I mainly see the people, apart from the referrals and personal recommendations I get. So I do lots of talks, Eugene. I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to a women's knitting group, and I'll do it for free. I mainly do my work for free, apart from corporate venues I get well paid for. I'm delighted to do it for free. Why? Because it's never free. It's never, ever, ever free. I always get business from it, and I always get appointments on the night. I've never done talks without making appointments even on the night. So there'll be people watching this right now, and some of you will be pretty proficient at this, and you'll know what you're doing. I apologize to you. I have no idea who's watching this. You're either highly, highly experienced, or you're new to the business, or you do talks, or you don't, but you like to. So bear with me. I have no idea who I'm talking to, but I'm going to assume that you'd like to get into this, or you're in it now and you like to be better. So I'm going to show you how I kind of do it. Is that okay? And in this here, from here, the west wing of my small castle here in Scotland, it's going to be difficult. I'm actually wrapping myself around with my kilt just to show you. Made sleeves this morning. It's very, very difficult, but I'll do it. I'll do it.
That is your modern skid. Kilt.
It is. This is it. This is the McTavish kilt. So so like all good presentations, hopefully, what I normally do is I believe in what all you've got to do in doing a talk like this is you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, then you tell them what you've told them. And the difference with this is my good friend Eugene is going to be sitting there. So instead of playing with an audience, he will be my audience. So now and again, we had just a quick chat before we started. Eugene might want to ask questions here and there and stop me, as would happen if I was doing a presentation to a group, which I enjoy. I really miss that whole part of doing workshops. So we'll see where we're going from there. Because the communication, the whole idea of this communication is like all good communication, it's what's said and what's heard, what's understood, and what action is taken. So Eugene's going to keep me on point by that, by telling me what he heard right or what he never, and I might have to go back over that again. So I've got a little bit of notes in front of me because this is the first time I've ever done it this way. I normally talk to groups. I normally stand on my feet for 8 hours. I've got a fair idea what I'm doing over 8 hours, but in 45 minutes, I'm with a prompter in front of me. Guess what? I've never done it like this before. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Something just a little bit different. So cool. I believe that in hypnosis talks, there are basically 7 areas to cover to my group of people I'm talking to. That group of people could be a couple hundred people, and it could be 24 in a room. It could be anything like that. But what I do is I do 7 things. The first, I briefly describe who I am and what I do. And when people ask me what I do, I'll normally open with something like this. This is what I use. You'll have your own thing. Hi, my name is Bob Burns. You probably heard about me, and people will tell you I have these amazing skills. I can read people's minds. I can bend metal. I can stop your heart and steal your watch if you're not looking. And I use all of this with a form of something. But listen, there is nothing special about me. I use body language. I use neuro-linguistic programming. I use sales skills. I'm trained in mentalism and waking hypnosis, and anybody can do anything I can do. Anybody. If you've got maybe 10 years to spare, just learning some of that stuff. But I have no skills whatsoever. And then, Eugene, I will pause, look at my audience, and then say, however, I could be lying. And that's when I have it. Yeah. That's when I see them nudging each other and saying, I think he's got the skill. Or it's a bit of fun at worst. So then after briefly describing who I am, I then immediately go into a talk. I say, I want to take you back to a certain time, and I do this talk. And what they don't know while I'm doing the talk is I'm doing a form of hypnosis while I'm doing the talk. If there were any hypnotists in the room and anybody watching me doing this in workshop, you can see them nudging each other and saying, I see what he's doing. So when I say the man who told him to relax and just breathe, and as they breathe, and you can see the people kind of nodding off. We won't have time to do that today. It's a pretty good talk. If anybody contacts me, I promise to give you the talk. And maybe we'll do something, Eugene, when I can give you the talk in written form. And you can do
that would be awesome. Yeah, we can give it as a bonus for the participants.
It's a bonus for whatever. That would be great. After I do my talk, and when I finish, but the talk basically is me saying, hey, why don't you come back with me 10,000 years to the land of Mesopotamia, where there's a woman in a place called Anna of Amaria, who's got some severe headaches. And one day this man arrives going through her small farm. She gives him some fruit, some water, and he tells her about this incredible place, 2 days donkey ride from here. 2 days donkey ride from here, there's an oasis, and there's a special guy that's there with maybe about 11 or 12 helpers. And he gets these people to come, to sit, to relax, and he talks to them. And as he talks to them, he tells them to sit back and just relax and just close their eyes and just drift and dream and float and listen to his voice. And as he tells Anna the story, Anna feels herself relaxing. Even listen to this guy narrate the story of greatness, 2 days donkey ride from here. And the man told her that he had a bad back, and his back got fixed by doing this thing. Anna, who has suffered severe migraines most of her life, the next day gets on a donkey, takes some fruit, some nuts, some water. Her husband watches the children, and off she goes on her own. 2 days, she finds a place. She sees the guy. There's 30 or 40 strangers there. They sit in a circle, and the man enters. The man enters the room and enters the cave rather, and says, sit back, relax, just drift and dream and float. So I then tell the same story I've told in the first place. But this time it's a full story, and it's there I get to see my audience kind of relax as I use hypnotic language. I don't tell them I'm using hypnotic language, of course,
Yeah.
because as you know, my family motto, I'm looking at it right now above my fireplace here, and my family motto is Snicarius est asbestas. It's old Latin, and it simply means sneaky is best. I find that's pretty good thing to do with strangers. So I go through the whole thing, and of course at the end of it, a nice deep breath, open your eyes, and when Anna comes back, much to her surprise, her headaches have gone, and they never come back again. Welcome to the world of hypnosis. So I tell them that story, and hopefully I have most of them by that time. I have the full attention, they've enjoyed the story, and hopefully, as will be reported to me at the end of this, some will come forward and say that their aches and pains they've kind of lifted, and that's a really cool thing to do.
Yeah.
If we did nothing else but that, it would be worthwhile. So once I finish doing my talk of Anna of Amaria, I then say, hey, should we have some fun? Who wants to have fun? So, and of course, it's a rhetorical question. Without waiting for the answer, I simply ask them to close your eyes. Everybody in the room, close your eyes. And I want you to think of a white horse. So I go right into what I call the imaginary testings. And I do this, folks, for anybody listening, I do this because many years ago, my English wife, she's very moody, very, very moody. My English wife and I, we were having a meal with a friend of mine, Bill. And I happened to mention this statement. This is about 20 years ago. I happened to say, it's like when you imagine seeing a white horse. And Bill went, yeah. And there's something with his voice. I said, but you can do that, yeah? And he said, well, I can't see it. I said, yeah, but you can imagine seeing it. And this discussion took place. And I discovered he cannot imagine seeing a white horse. And in my life, I never realized there was a group of people that cannot see. How about that? I never realized that. My wife and I could see without even closing our eyes, but he couldn't do that. So I decided to use that with my clients because we have to know our clients. We have to know what our clients are like, yeah? So I want to know if any special people out there that were what we call clairvoyants, people who clearly see. So I then asked my group, when I'm doing my talks, my group talks, just close your eyes for me, and I want you to imagine seeing a white horse. I wait a couple of moments, and I ask anybody who can see the white horse, can you put your hands up so I can see who saw the white horse? And much to their surprise, they'll discover that about 90% of the people in the room put up their hands. Now, here's the interesting thing. You're going to have to trust me when I tell you this, and if you guys do this, you'll find that I'm absolutely right. You'll get husband and wives of 25, 30 years looking at each other because one's got the hand up and the other hasn't. And for the first time in their lives, they'll understand why they have so many bloody arguments because they're talking different languages. He doesn't see what she's telling him. He literally doesn't see what she's telling him. She's clairvoyant. He is non-clairvoyant. He doesn't get that. So then I talk about clairvoyance. I talk about the ability to imaginarily see things. For example, when a white horse comes to me, I tell them this because it's true. It annoys me. It's even licking my face. I have to push the damn thing away. And I laugh at myself for having this crazy imagination. But of course, by controlling my imagination, I get to ordain my destiny, or at least it helps for that, yeah? So we're talking about controlled imagination. I'll then ask them now to close your eyes again. And this time I want you to imagine that you can hear a beautiful piece of music now. It enters the room now. You'll even see some people kind of going like so. Some people will be thinking of their favorite piece. Some people will be kind of woozy, and some people will kind of sway. 1, 2, wide awake. And again, hands up with those who heard the music. And it'll go down just a little bit in my experience to about 80%, say 80, 85%, because visual is the Anthony Gailey said, visual is what he's looking for in all hypnotism. You have good vision skills. But now we can find out, we know who the clairvoyants were. Now we're going to find out who the clairaudients are, the ones who can clearly hear.
Nice.
That's pretty good because if I've got somebody who is not a good clairaudient in my therapy room, there's no point in me saying, so you hear what I'm saying? Yeah. He doesn't hear what I'm saying. Yeah. That's not how he works. Or there's no point in me saying, do you see where I'm coming from? They never saw the white horse. So I don't want to use that language with them. I'll use something else. But I may say something like, hey, do you get me? Do you feel me? If somebody does the third thing, and the third thing I do, of course, after seeing the white horse and hearing the music is this. Close your eyes again. Imagine I walk among you. I come to you in particular. I take my hands, and I very, very gently place them on to your shoulders now. Can you feel my hands on you? And yes, I'm using hypnotic language because we know, Eugene, don't we? That here it is again. Sicarios est asbestos. Sneaky is best, yeah? So there they go. I'll see the shoulders going down and the heads will go down with it. One, two, wide awake. I'll use that language, which is kind of quite cool, a little bit cheeky. One, two, wide awake. What do you mean? One, two, wide awake. Was I out? Was I gone? And then we'll ask them again. Hands up those who felt my hands on their shoulders. Hey, we're talking 60, 70% say. It depends on the room. But again, the husband and wife will look at each other. You felt his hands on your shoulders? Yeah, you never felt it. So now I know who's clairvoyant. I know who's clairvoyant. And I now know who's clairsentient, who clearly feels things. What a wonderful gift to have. Beautiful. I'll do the other two. The other two are less important to me. I'll ask them to close their eyes and imagine this beautiful bunch of fuchsias that I placed underneath their nose. Can you smell the flowers? So now we're talking clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, olfactory skills now. We're pulling olfactory skills. A lot of people don't have olfactory skills. There we go. I find out who's clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and I also find out who's got olfactory skills. The last one, of course, is very simple. I ask them to close their eyes and take a spoonful of curry from me. Whether you like curry or not, tell me, can you taste the curry? So now we'll go clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, olfactory, and gustatory. We now find out who can taste things. But we use the smelling and tasting a lot? Not really, but maybe if somebody comes to me and says they've lost a sense of smell or lost a sense of taste, we can play games before we begin by doing something like that. So all five will be pretty good. They'll come in pretty well. We'll get a good feel from our audience. They'll enjoy this. They always enjoy this. Of course, it now depends on your skills. I mean, I can teach you the skill, but I can't teach you the talent. You'll have to bring the talent with you. Is that okay? But the more rapport you have, the more you'll enjoy this little game that we play. Next part comes the easiest part. This comes to what all or many hypnotists teach when they're doing workshops, etc. And I use it. I use it when I'm doing this because I've never come across anything better. And that's when we do the response tests. I want to say, hey, let's find out how hypnosis would affect some of you guys. Let's do something just for a bit of fun. Rub your hands together, make a fist, put your fingers up, and of course, we're going to do the magnetic fingers. Yeah. And as you know, Eugene, with doing nothing else, only that, some of them will actually go into hypnosis there and then, which is just mind-blowing. From there, of course, we'll do magnetic hands. I'll ask them to hold their hands 6 inches apart. If you can't use this kind of language, don't use it. I get away with it. I think it works, and I could be wrong. I'll maybe offend some people, but when they do this, I'll often see someone like that, and I'll say something like this. If you think that's 6 inches, you're going to have many disappointments in your life. And the reason why I do it again and again and again is because my audience laughs and they do also. So no one says we can't have fun whilst we're doing talks, or indeed in the therapy room. So once we do the magnetic fingers, magnetic hands, I will then go into the heavy hand, light hand. Yeah. So we've got some people use a book. I use a very heavy bucket on the right hand, and of course, as that's going down, the balloons are tied around the rest to go up. When they open their eyes, if you've ever done hypnosis shows, it's just a fascinating thing. When you keep your hands the way they are and look at everyone else's hands, and they are fascinated. Again, the husband and wife. To see his wife or husband like this is just incredible. And all you're doing is you're strengthening and strengthening and strengthening who you are. Because in their eyes, this is something that you have done. And for all intents and purposes now, on this evening, that's what you want. You want to be showing what you do, what you have done. Because we're doing what all good salespeople do. We're selling, And this is the same by doing therapy. I mean, I was in sales most of my life, and I'm still in sales today. I call myself a clinical hypnotist, but I don't fool myself. I'm a salesman. I sell them on this idea. If they buy this idea, they get fixed. And that's what we're doing here, And of
So
course,
you
once
can call yourself a hypnotist salesman, a hypnotic salesman.
I could get away with that, I suppose. Of course, we never mention sales because people don't trust salespeople. I don't think they trust them.
Yeah, for sure, for
I
sure.
don't think they trust hypnotists that much either, but never mind. But it's all about me selling them an idea. Not them, of course, but the guy inside here. I'm wasting my time trying to sell them anything. It's the guy inside here because, as I often say, people come to us. They don't have conscious problems. They have a subconscious problem, which means it's all inside them, yet it's totally outside their control. It makes no sense to them whatsoever. That's why cognitive behavioral therapy has challenges, because cognitive behavioral therapy is wonderful, but it doesn't last that long. CBT, a good therapist will tell you that. Yeah, it needs top-ups because they're talking to them consciously and they don't have a conscious problem. They have a subconscious problem. And that needs a good hypnotist to get in there.
A teacher of mine, he actually, put this very beautifully at some point. He said, when the client comes to you, imagine it's like in a classroom and you have the students sitting in front of you and then you have the students in the back of the room. So the client comes to you and it's like the students in front of the classroom, they are complaining, whereas actually the noise comes from the back of the room. So it's like there's no point in talking to the guys in front, which would be like the conscious mind, when the real problem is in the back of the room, whereas the unconscious mind.
I like that a lot. In fact, I'm going to write that down now. I'm going to use that and give you no credit for it whatsoever. That's in my next book.
Actually, credit goes to Dr. Professor Gordon Emerson, whom I've learned it from.
Another Scotsman, I believe. Yeah, Gordon Emerson.
I don't think so. I think he's in Australia. But hey, you know what?
For you,
I'll just say he's a Scotsman. That's fine.
Emerson is a Scottish name. It comes from Inverness. So there you go. So in fact, all the Scots people that were sent to Australia came from Inverness, funny enough.
Great.
So there we go. We have magnetic fingers. We have magnetic hands. We have heavy hand, light hand. And the last thing I do, of course, is a hand clasp. And that's the favorite that you'll do with a group. I can tell you that I do lots of hypnosis in the therapy room. And I do, I'll sick them to tables. I'll get them to forget their names. And I can understand lots of people says, why would you do that? Why would you do that in a therapy room? Get them to forget their names and stick them to a table. Why would you do that?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the answer, of course, is if I can get them to forget their name, I can get them to forget the problem. If I can stick them to the table, I can stick them to the goal. Yeah. So one of the things I put out there, Eugene, was a thing called a couple of years ago, the Swan Speaks, where I was doing direct voice with 5 or 6 people. And the very first guy, he traveled a lot of miles to see me that day. He traveled over 100 miles, and I couldn't get it to work. So we had some fun with him. I knew that he wanted something else in his life. So I stuck his hand to his thigh, and on the film, I offered him, I just had 2 people that week to come to see me to stop smoking. I charged £500, and I had 2 envelopes with £500 in it. Genuinely, this is true. The cameraman behind me is going, what are you crazy? Because I'm offering him £1,000 to take the money from me. And of course, he can't move his hands. But why would I do that? Why would I do that? I needed to do that because I needed to stick him to his goal. And that was a great example for him.
Yeah.
So afterwards, do you think I could get you to stick to your goal? Well, yes, is the answer. And he became a really good client of mine as well. This, of course, is almost a waste of time because it's not hypnosis, it's lactic acid. It's arguable if anything is actual hypnosis.
Okay.
I get that, right? This certainly is not. This is lactic acid, and that's why it will work with a lot of people, but they're not actually, but the hypnosis doesn't work later. It will confirm it for some where they can go into hypnosis, but for some no. But if you put someone's hand on a table and stick that hand to that table where this hand can't lift that hand, I would suggest to you that we are cusping. We're in the cusp of hypnosis and perhaps even going into hypnosis. In fact, out of the things we do there, the magnetic fingers, the magnetic hands, the heavy hand, light hand, and of course the hand clasp, the only thing that's really hypnosis there is one part of the third thing. The third thing is heavy hand, light hand, and that will happen anyway, will it? 100% almost, everyone in the world. But this one here, only a person going into hypnosis are able to do that will this happen with. That will tell you so much. In fact, if you can get somebody sitting like that, it's impossible not to put them into hypnosis. fact, I'd suggest they're probably
Wow.
already there. So all the skilled hypnotists who've done this for many, many years on stage and whatever will tell you, out of these four things, the third thing, the heavy hand, light hand, it's this one here they're looking for. They're not interested in this, they're looking for that. Although I have to say, this one here, I was talking to a group with, again, talking to groups. I was talking to a group with COPD. I do lots of work with people with COPD. I never charge them a penny. It's a dreadful, dreadful disease. But
What is COPD?
A chronic obstructional pulmonary disorder. And pulmonary is of the cardiovascular
lungs. Yeah.
And the sad thing for these people is you would think at nighttime, at least the day is over and they can get some respite, they can sleep. But that's not the case, because the lungs close down at night, they relax, and it makes the breathing harder. How about that? You've just had a bad day and now it's going to get worse because you want to rest. So COPD people have some challenges. And I was working with a group once, and I just done the magnetic hands. And as I'm talking, I heard a voice saying, Mr. Burns, can I go to the toilet, please? I said, yes, wherever you are. And everyone started laughing. I looked down, and there's a guy about 4'6". He's a very small man, and his hands are stuck together. So he's looking at me, and he said, Mr. Burns, can I go to the toilet? And I say, yes. And he goes, and I go, oh.
Can you fix it?
He goes, thank you. And off he went to the toilet. I'll tell you what, if it was planned in a show, you'd think it was, because it couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah.
So that's where I am with the response test. Yeah, we've done.
Let me ask you this: with the response test, do you do them in this particular order that you presented now, or can you like switch around, or is it a reason for which you would do it in an order and not another?
I'm very, very boring. Everything I do, for anyone I've ever trained, all the people I've mentored, they'll tell you, Bob Burns, scripted. I'm scripted with every presentation I do, always, for a reason. So if you said to me, Eugene, I saw you do this back in 1992 and you did this, I'd be able to say to you, no, I didn't, because that's not what I do. Yeah. Or if you say you didn't do this, I say, no, I did. Because that's always what I do. It's like you're telling me that after 173, I said 176. And I'd say to you, no, I always say 174. So with my main presentations, of course I can leave and do different things at different times, mainly scripted. So I always do it like that. And by the way, that's nothing new. None of this is my stuff. This is all stuff I've learned from so many other hypnotherapists over the years. What happens next? So I've done my talk, I've done my imaginary test, I've done my response test. And now I say, great, I'll tell you what, let's have a bit of fun. I promise no one will be embarrassed in any way, shape, or form. I know, that's what happens then. But would anybody like to volunteer? Can I get a volunteer, please? Oh, a lady in front here, second from the back, 3 and you, up you come. And she'll come up. But she never put her hand up. But she was like this earlier. Yeah. And I've already decided I'll choose her. And if they're like that earlier with a hand up like that, and you choose them, they always come up. It's the strangest thing. They always come up. So for anybody watching this now, just believe this for 2 reasons. 1, because it's true, and 2, because it will save time. Okay? So just believe.
Just take my word for it and just keep going with it, yeah?
When you get somebody like this, and you say, oh, the lady there, could you please, and do a little bit, nodding's good. And if you go and take her, she'll just come up and do everything you say, because guess what? She's already in hypnosis. Yeah. That's the thing that stage hypnotists know when they do that kind of work. When all that people come up onto the stage, they're already in hypnosis. There's a difference with the volunteers that come up and sit in the chairs and they do fallback. That's a different one, I get that. But in this one here, most, not all, but most, 95% are already in hypnosis. So, but let's assume they weren't in hypnosis. Let's suppose I just took a genuine volunteer and went up and did this with them. Stay with me here, Eugene, don't get too worried, okay? I'm going to stand up because I'll look at my arm. So one of the first things I do with them, come up, stand still, look into my eyes, take a nice deep breath, close your eyes and just rest and sleep and deeper. That's all kind of stuff. We call that just showman stuff. That's all I'm doing. None of that really matters. Tap them in the shoulder. Oh, he must be doing that for a reason. Tap them maybe in this.
Anchoring her.
I just allow that. Oh, he must be doing that for a reason. So the audience will assume that it's for a reason. More importantly, the person standing there will think it's for a reason, and quite chancefully go into hypnosis. How about that? But it doesn't matter, because what I want to do with them standing up and watch me is tap their right arm here and say, when I tap this, it simply wants to lift into the ear. It simply wants to lift. And the crazy thing is, the arm begins to lift into the ear, and the crowd go, "Oh my God." We're never really sure why that is. Do you know that, Eugene? I like to look at lots of questions of how things happen, but there used to be a thing when I was a kid. You push your arm against a wall or a door, for ages. You step forward and the arm would lift up. And you think, is it something like that? I don't know. But even if somebody's not in hypnosis, but thinking of their arm and thinking it might be lifting, it will lift ever so slightly. Here's the great news about this. Here's the great news. If you did nothing else now, if you just stopped now, it's a good night. It's been a great talk. You've taken about 10,000 years. They've witnessed other people already murmuring that their pain's gone, that their legs feeling fine. They've seen white horses. They've heard music. They felt your hands on their shoulders. A certain percentage of my hands have been stuck together, and everyone's laughing and having a bit of fun. And now this person, you just suggested the hand to go up. If nothing else happens now, it's a great. But if it's working well, I'll take it further. I used to have a line I used to use. We'll keep going till we get you dancing naked on top of a table. Is that okay? Now everybody knows that's a fun thing, and everybody laughs, including the person. But in other words, it says, let's try something else. Let's try something else. Oh, so that's just fun. That doesn't work, and that's okay. So now it looks as if I'm doing a thought experiment, and that's good. People love thought experiments, so they like to see how fascinating I and you and we are. So after that, I personally will then say, take a nice deep breath, close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, you can imagine now feeling heavier and heavier. It's kind of like a glue. It's kind of like a glue tightening your eyes. They get tighter and tighter and tighter. You might imagine trying to open them. That's right. You imagine trying to open your eyes. In fact, after a while, you can actually try and imagine opening your eyes and see that they actually don't open. Try and do that for me right now. Now, the worst thing is going to happen is this. They're kind of flutter open like that. That's a good response. That's okay. From a crowd watching, that's from a lay person watching, that's phenomenal. But normally at this point, my eyes won't open. I'll then take it to, now you're trying to take a step forward and you find it, you can't take a step forward. Try for me. Try. So we can have a bit of fun there. I'll maybe take a step forward where I say, now when you try and say your name, the name's just gone and it's gone. And what is your name when it's gone? And it's gone, yeah? And they can't think of their name. I will stop then. Then I'll turn to my audience and say, now, as I promised earlier, we said we'd have a bit of fun, but we won't make a fool of anyone. So with the greatest respect, I'm going to stop now. Is that okay? So here's me, the good guy. What a lovely fella. What a lovely fella. He floated their hand up. He closed their eyes. They couldn't open. They couldn't walk forward. They didn't know what their name was. But he gave them.
Yeah, but they forgot the name,
Yeah, he gave them their name back, and this is Michael. That's okay, Michael, as long as I know your name's back. And no one will ever be able to do this again for the rest of your life without you giving them your expressed opinion that you want that to happen, and that includes me, okay? You'll always be in control. It's a nice thing to do. It's a nice closing touch. No one will ever be able to do this to you without you saying, yeah, I'd like to do that. They go back into the audience, they sit down. So I've now done a talk. I've introduced myself, I've done a talk, I've done imagination tests, I've done response tests, I've done an incredible demonstration, and now I'm going to ask for questions. So I don't know, what kind of questions will I get, Eugene? Any idea?
Yeah. Can everybody be hypnotized?
And you know what? In truth, because we're all sitting here watching this, you already know this. I know that everybody watching this already knows the answers you've heard. The answer is absolutely, and no, not everybody. And well, it's a strange one, really, when you think about it. And that's all over forums all over the world, isn't it? my honest answer, and I would never argue about it, because some great people who really know this business argue against me, and that's okay. I'm not saying I know. In my experience, no, not everybody can be hypnotized.
Mm-hmm.
And a great one in a forum just a couple of days ago, where a guy says that everyone is a somnambulist, whether they know it or not, and everyone given enough time could go into hypnosis. Just not my findings at all. But there was no point in having the argument, especially not in a forum. I think I gave it 5 minutes longer than I should have, but no, that would be my thing. But there'll be lots of questions by this time.
So one other question that people have usually when you do like presentations and talks is like, what if they get stuck in hypnosis? What do you tell them then?
Well, that's great. No one ever gets stuck in hypnosis. Don't worry about that. We don't know where these stories come from. We don't know where they arrive at. We've no idea about
Oh,
them.
but I've seen on YouTube.
Yes, you will. And there's every chance that somebody's got their mate doing that on YouTube, or somebody's actually pretended it to get some. We all like to be relevant, yeah? And if I'm on YouTube in front of 3 million people and suddenly I'm stuck in hypnosis, I'm very, very relevant. It's never happened in the history of the world. I'll even be candid with them, Eugene, and tell them a true story, but it won't scare them, not the way I tell them anyway. I'll tell them a true story of someone who was hypnotized, that when he went home that night, he would switch on his light and 10,000 volts would go through his body. And they found him the next day and he was dead. He'd had a heart attack. So there's an argument that would go on forever. Did that happen? And the chances are, if you tell everybody that, if you tell 1 million people that, one of them at some point tonight, when they go home, will have a heart attack. Unfortunately, you told this story 2 hours earlier, and that's the part that will be remembered. It's almost like this new word that's in the world right now, Trumpism. It's a great word, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can get them to believe in. One of my favorites, Eugene, is when they do this. When I ask them to guess animal noises. I'll do this with you right now for a bit of fun. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
Don't get upset. I'm going to take it back again. Now I'm going to move to the side, Eugene. I'm going to make a noise like an animal. You're going to guess what the animal is. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So here comes the noise. What noise is that, do you think?
Elephant.
No, that was probably a lucky guess, but that's incredible, Eugene. You've traveled the world. I know you have, and you've seen a lot of things. Isn't this wonderful?
It is perfect. I mean, totally.
By the way, Eugene, this is just a fake trunk. I just put it over my head just now. But yeah, we can have a little bit of fun when we're having talks and do stuff like this. As you know, Eugene, one of my favorites is to get everybody to pick up a pen. You can do this with me right now, Eugene.
All right, let me do. Yeah.
Hold the pen on one hand. Oh no, you'll need to get the other side of the microphone. It needs to be close to you. Yeah, that hand. Now with the other hand, hold your tongue like this. Now put the pen up high. Take it across like that. Take it down. Put it on your tongue and push it through the tongue like that, right through, and you'll find there's no pain. Now this is good stuff. People absolutely love this. And some, I've had a couple of people, they'll actually draw blood. But yeah, I've gotten
what?
It's not a problem. I explain.
They really go for it, right?
I explain, of course, to my audience, this is not my tongue, and you have to do that. This is actually my mother-in-law's tongue, and so I explain that. To my audience. So what have I done? What have I done? I've explained who I am. I've done a talk. I've done the imagination test, the response tests. I've done a demonstration, for heaven's sake, of a friend that they know in the room. They know they're not acting. And that will take care of one of these other questions. Are they only acting when they're up there? And then I'm asking for questions. And the final thing I do, Eugene, I normally do this with people in a group, and we're going to try and do it with you on here right now and see what happens. So if I can be honest with the people watching, just before we started, 60 seconds before we started, I showed this to you and says, does this look anything like possible on this camera? We're going to try it again right now with this laptop. Is that okay?
Awesome. Yes.
So for people watching, what I'm going to do at some point, I'm going to move the laptop down like that, and I'm going to stand up so you can see my waist, so that I can show you exactly what I'm doing. Then we'll come back again. So what I'm going to try and do here, and of course, because this is being recorded, you can play this again and again and again. And trust me, don't quit. Don't quit, because winners don't quit and quitters never win, okay? So practice this and practice this. And I am telling you that if you can practice and do this well, you'll do it for the rest of your life. Now, I know we're living in a world right now where business cards are gone, aren't they? I love that, because it's like I'm the only guy left doing it, and I get to do this. I get to give them a part of me that they'll remember forever. I can also tell you that, and most of you will know this, when you get an inquiry sometimes, or you find out a business card in the past, when they come and contact you and you say, how did you hear of me? They'll tell you it was 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, or last year. It doesn't happen all the time that same week. So with these ones here, my business cards that I hand out, they get to keep them as a souvenir. So this one's here, for example, before this, my business cards were blank. This is one with a circle in the back, and I tell people I use this to hypnotize.
Mm-hmm.
I use this to actually to hypnotize people. So they see a small circle on it and they actually go into a form of hypnosis when they see it just like that. It's just a bit of fun I do. But I show them what I do with my business card as I hand it out, and I'm going to show it to you now. I'm moving this other side to do this. So what I say to them is, look, this is my business card. And as you can see, there's a circle on one side and there's a circle on the other side. And when I put it through my hands, the circle just comes through. Of course it does. Why would anything else happen? I just put it in my hand and I push it through with my thumb and the circle just comes through. But the funny thing is, if I put it in my hand and get some letters and throw it onto my hand and print, this happens. I get to give you details of who I am that you can keep for the rest of your life. Please take this as a souvenir. And I give them my business card. So it's a nice little thing to do. They will take it back. And many, many years ago, I was asked by a company called Windsor Life. At that time, people were canvassing on oil companies in Aberdeen. Can you believe that? And they were handing their business cards, and they'd be put in the bin. No one was interested. And the question was, could you show us a way where you could give someone a business card that they'd want to keep it? I came up with this idea, and I trained a whole direct sales force, about 480 people, how to hand out business cards. And the sales lifted. I mean, lifted. I mean, like 60% up immediately that first week. So it's just that small thing. You can imagine what they call the monster. That's the woman in the front desk saying to the boss, yeah, we got another 18 people give business cards. I dumped them. But this guy's interesting. I'm telling you I'm going to tell you what he did. You won't believe me, but he'll do it again if you call him and pull him in, and so on and so forth. So that's what we did. And all I'm doing is we can't do it here. We're just doing a quick talk now. I teach this in my workshops. You're all invited onto my workshop. What kind of guy am I? I'm a Gemini. It's what I do. But look, all I'm doing is this. I'm doing it with these two fingers here and this thumb. I'm holding it like that, and I'm turning it over like this. That's all I'm doing, just that. And I'm sure magicians won't mind me showing this. So many people know it's all over YouTube. But the whole idea is to do something with it. Now, if I say there's a wheel on this side and a wheel on that side, well, there's not a wheel on that side. It's my details. What's this? What's the mechanics of my arm? I learned on my wrist. I learned if I do this with my wrist, while I'm doing that, this happens. So I can do it like this. There's a wheel on that side and a wheel on that side, and it's useless. But just turn my wrist at the same time. It looks like this. There's a wheel on that side and there's a wheel on that side. Pretty cool. Yeah? It's really, really nice. No one thinks of it. Look, here's my business card. There's a wheel on that side and a wheel on that side. And then I do three things. I put it on my fingers and I push with my thumb, keeping it down. And I put it on my fingers and I push with my thumb, keeping it down. And I put it on my, not my fingers, my hand. And I hold it with my fingers, turning it upside down. Pushing it with my thumb.
Nice. Your own printing hand.
Yes, and a couple of things happen. In the subconscious. I don't know if you'll get this, but if when you're close to someone, they hear this. I don't know if you'll hear it, but listen, it sounds like a printer. Yeah. And if you watch the card, it's jagged. It goes because it's hitting my skin. It doesn't slide. It's jagged. Watch. Yeah. So it sounds and looks like a printer. It's quite cool. Yeah. And I never realized that I was doing it. Only later, I go, oh my God, it looks like it's being printed. I hand out my business cards, and that's it. I have a cup of tea here in Scotland. They normally give me a corned beef sandwich or some shortbread. And then, of course, I get questions. But I never, ever, ever, ever leave when I do a public talk to people, any kind of talking to groups, without making at least 3 or 4 appointments there and then on the night, always. I build a practice by doing that. And I get to be well known throughout the shire that I live in here. There's always somebody looking at me saying, that's the guy who, and guess what? Remember the guy that did this? It's the craziest thing, you know. Absolutely. I'm better than this. I can do more than this. But this is the
trademark it.
Or of course the trunk. They'll remember me. That's the guy. That's the elephant man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Being
So,
told.
do you also have like back of the room sales? Do you have products or DVDs or whatever, something to sell in the back of the room, or joining your courses and stuff like that?
Oh, in my courses, yeah, for when I do my workshops, but for these things, these are normally to members of the lay public. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I'm saying like,
I
so
never
you give a
sell
public
anything. I never have
presentation,
anything.
and then at the end of the presentation, do you promote something? Do you sell something, or you?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's always one little thing that I do. There's two main things. Uh, so here I'm talking about talking to groups, but the little thing that I have up my sleeve will be, oh, and by the way, on the 1st of next month, at such and such address, at such and such a time, I am teaching self-hypnosis. And
Yeah,
I'll get people writing up there and then. I'll get 12, 15 people there and then on the night. And by the way, if I could say to anyone else as well, when I said this is what I do, if I was anywhere in the world and starting up a practice again for the 6th time, I would do this. I would talk to groups, and I would definitely do self-hypnosis evenings. Self-hypnosis groups are phenomenal. At worst, at the very worst, guess what? Everybody becomes your client. I
yeah.
mean, everybody. Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay.
Bob, this was like always a great presentation. I was just, as you were talking about, how to look for people in the room. I remember when you're teaching in Romania, your class, you had this lady coming up and you've done like a quick induction and she just like collapsed on the
Uh,
floor. That was,
we just caught her in time. Yeah, she went very fast. Yeah,
yeah. And she was like, her eye flutter was like out of this world. She's like,
yeah.
we got this
But
on camera.
again,
Maybe I'll show that clip.
yeah, and again, she'll probably believe she was volunteering. But remember,
Yeah.
Nicarios estas bestas. Yeah. So when I
Nice.
saw the hang up, I thought she'll be a good volunteer. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Bob, thank you so much for your presentation. Where can people get in touch with you? How can they learn from you?
Well, I have if they're therapists, they might want to join Bob Burns Hypnotherapy. That's a forum. You apply to join, and every couple of weeks we invite a group in. Right now, we've got nearly 2,500 members. We did it
Beautiful.
nearly 2 years ago for a bit of fun. We thought we'd get 20, 30 people, and we've now got kicking 2,500. I'm going to start something real soon. In a couple of months' time, I'm going to start a little club thing where I'm going to get some people in. But enough of that for now. They can contact me at bobburnshypnotherapy.com. That's my website. So it's bobburnshypnotherapy.com. I was going to say the class is full, but the classes are virtual. I mean, although I've got something like 28 people, 30 people in this class,
Yeah,
I can take 3,000. Yeah. So I've got
yeah,
a workshop at the end of this month, the 30th and 31st, the Saturday and the Sunday. And if you want to contact me anytime, we can definitely squeeze you in because it's a virtual workshop. So
yeah.
yeah,
Beautiful.
and of course I've got my 2 items that I always sell in Bob Burns Hypnotherapy. I only sell 2 things. I sell the Swan, the DVD, and a download film called The Swan Speaks, which is about the right voice when the part speaks to you. It's a little bit scary. It's not for everybody, okay?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
make sure you watch it with the
Perfect.
lights on.
I love it. I love it. Bob, thank you so much for being with us today. And
You're
for
welcome, Jim.
those of you who are watching this live, make sure that if you have not subscribed to the premium account for this webinar, for this summit, make sure to do so because you only see this live as it happens right now, and then you won't be able to access anymore. So go ahead and get your premium tickets for this event. And what you have to do right now is take your piece of paper, take a pen, write down the main key idea that you have got from this presentation. I know you've taken down a lot of notes, but if you are to pick up
I'm
like the
gonna,
main idea from this presentation, write that down right now.
I'm gonna be so disappointed if it's the elephant's noise.
Bob, thank you so much.
Welcome, you.
And guys, write down your idea, take a quick break. We'll see you in the next presentation. Stay close. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.